You're not here by accident. Something inside you might be weary, might be curious, brought you to this moment. Perhaps it's been a long day, or perhaps it's been a long season of restless night. Thoughts that never stop, a mind that never softens. And now, you're simply asking for peace. Not the forced kind, not the one we chase with noise or distraction, but the kind that feels like returning home. So, if you'll let me, I'd like to guide you, not with pressure or instruction, but with presence. Let this be a story you don't have to follow, but one that gently follows you, breath after breath, until sleep finds you as naturally as night follows day. It begins with breath, not a breath you take out of habit, but the kind that brings you back into your body. A breath that reminds you, you are here now, not in yesterday's worry or tomorrow's plan. Just here, where nothing is asked of you. Feel the air moving in, as if the world itself is gently whispering, you've done enough, and now it's time to rest. You don't need to chase sleep, you don't need to earn it. Sleep doesn't come to those who run after it. It comes to those who are willing to sit still long enough for it to return on its own. It's like a wild animal in the forest. It doesn't approach when you shout or rush, but when you sit quietly, it gets curious and draws near. And so we sit quietly now, together. Notice how your body begins to shift, shoulders lower, jaw loosens, even your eyes grow heavy without needing to close just yet. All of this is happening without effort. You're not doing relaxation, you're allowing it. That's the secret no one tells you. Sleep isn't something you force, it's something you remember how to allow. And maybe this remembering doesn't begin with silence, but with a voice, my voice, guiding you back through the pathways you once knew as a child. Do you remember that moment, my baby, long ago, when you were so tired, you simply melted into sleep? When blankets felt like clouds and darkness was a kind presence, that moment is still inside you, waiting. So let's return there. Let's begin with the breath again. Soft, full, unhurried. Let it move through you like a tide rising to meet the shore. And with each breath, feel how the mind begins to loosen its grip. It doesn't matter what thoughts come, they're just clouds. You don't need to hold them, you can let them pass. The more you watch your breath, the more the chatter fades. Not because you're silencing anything, but because you're silencing anything, but because you're no longer trying to listen to everything. Let your mind grow quiet like a room after the last guest has gone home. Let it echo with stillness. Feel your body sink into the bed now. Not fall, but sink like a leaf on a pond, like sand being pulled softly by the tide. The bed is no longer just a surface, it's a safe shore. You are being held, supported. You don't have to carry yourself anymore. And now, in this moment, we begin to open the attic of your mind, the dusty storage where you've been keeping all the unfinished thoughts, the unspoken worries, the quiet griefs. We won't unpack them, we won't judge them. We'll simply let in some fresh air and say, you don't need to guard these tonight. Let go of the go, needing to make sense of it all before sleep. There's nothing more to solve, nothing more to prepare for. You've done enough, and now, the only thing that matters is the rhythm of your breath, the ease of your body, and the softness that is growing inside your chest. Notice that feeling, that small but steady warmth building within you. That is safety, that is home, and in this warmth, you are allowed to release, to unravel, to dissolve gently into the night, like the last light on the horizon. You're not alone. I'm still here with you, just a quiet voice keeping watch while you rest. And when you're ready, I'll take you a little further, not into dreams just yet, but into something even deeper. The memory of peace you've carried with you all along. And if you stay with me just a little longer, we'll begin to step into that quiet place together. A space where time slows, breath softens, and the mind finally stops asking, what's next? Because there is no next. There is only this moment, this breath, this beginning of surrender. You might notice as you lie here now that something has begun to shift, not dramatically, not all at once, but gradually, like a dimmer switch lowering the lights of your busy mind. softening the contrast between wakefulness and something more sacred. Not sleep, exactly, not yet, but the edge of it, a liminal space where dreams begin to stir, not in color or story, but in color or story, sensation, in stillness. Let's stay there together, just a little while. Close your eyes, if they haven't already closed on their own. Feel what that silence behind your eyelids is like. It's not blankness, not absence. It's the beginning of absence, inwardness. You're no longer watching the world. You're listening to the soul. And in this inward gaze, I invite you to imagine something gentle, not spectacular, not too bright, something safe. Imagine the slow warmth of sunlight at night, the very end of the day, the golden kind that touches everything with reverence. You're lying on soft, untouched sand. It's warm, not hot. The grains mold perfectly to your body, as if this beach was made just for you. Not a single soul inside, only the sound of calm, rhythmic waves, and the soft hush of wind through distant palms. There's no need to picture it clearly. It's not about the image, it's about the feeling. Can you feel how peaceful the air is here? How easy it is to breathe. The tension you didn't realize you were holding begins to slip away, not because you force it, but because it finally feels safe enough to go. Your shoulders sink, your spine lengthens, even your heartbeat slows to match the rhythm of the waves. Slower still. In this place, nothing is urgent, nothing demands. Even the sun is beginning to rest, dipping slowly below the horizon, like a curtain closing on the day, and you too are preparing to step behind that curtain, not to escape the world, but to meet something more real than the noise of it. Each breath you take now pulls the ocean closer, not the literal sea, but the sea of stillness within you, a tide of calm rising gently through your legs, your torso, your chest, until it touches the edges of your mind and softens everything. Thoughts don't stop here. They just lose their sharpness. They blur into the breeze, stretch out into the surf, and return to the source from which they came. There's a scent in the air now, salt and jasmine and something more ancient, something that reminds you have known this peace before, in another life or another version of yourself. This was home. Let that memory come, not as a story, but as a wave. Let it wash over you. With each breath, the space around you expands. The beach stretches infinitely in both directions. The sky deepens into shades of lavender and gold. Stars begin to wink open above you, not in a rush, but one by one, like small promises being kept. You are still here, still breathing, and yet you are beginning to dissolve, not disappear. Dissolve into warmth, into softness, into stillness. If there's any thought trying to rise, now let it, but don't chase it. Watch it like a firefly, blinking in the dusk, beautiful, brief, and drifting on. And if there's any emotion lingering, perhaps sadness, perhaps worry, don't push it away. Let it rest beside you. Pillow, a moment, a place to breathe. Even your restlessness deserves rest. Now, return to the breath, but not just the breath as function. Return to the breath as prayer. Inhale, as if receiving a blessing. Exhale, as if offering release. Inhale a calm. Exhale control. Inhale the presence of something kind. Exhale the grip of needing to understand. You are not broken, you are simply tired. And here, in this sacred space between day and night, you are being gathered, not fixed, gathered, held, witnessed, and now, as the final edge of sun slips behind the sea, you begin to feel the last boundary between awareness and surrender dissolve. This is where the trance begins, not because I say it does, but because your say it does body has already chosen it. Your subconscious has already begun to whisper, yes, it's time now. So I'll stay with you a little longer, a quiet presence at the edge of your sleep, guiding without gripping, walking with you without ever rushing. And in a moment, as your breath grows even slower and your body grows even softer, we'll move together into a space beyond the beach, beyond the sun, beyond even the waves, a place where nothing speaks, because nothing needs to. where nothing. Silence isn't empty. It's complete, but well, go there only when you're ready. And if you're still with me, just listening, just breathing, I believe that moment is almost here. Let's take one more breath together. You, lying in the warm sands, beneath an infinite sky. Me, just a voice riding on the breeze. And from here, we'll descend, slowly, lovingly, into the deepest chamber of rest. Not escape, not forgetting, not forgetting, not forgetting. Deeply, that even the need to listen begins to drift away. My words no longer land on the surface of your mind. They pass through you, like wind moving through tall grass, soft, barely there. They guide. You are still here, but not. You are still here, but not. In the same way you were before. Something in you has softened. A door has opened, and behind that door is the space you've been seeking. Not silence, but stillness. Not escape, but ease. If your mind still wanders, that's okay. Minds are like that. But notice how the thoughts no longer cling. They come and go like ripples on a lake that has forgotten how to stir. You don't chase them. You don't chase them. You don't hold them. You just let them be. And in letting them be, they begin to dissolve. Your body is almost gone now. Not in fear, but in freedom. You've become the warmth beneath the blanket, the breath in the air, the rhythm beneath the stars. And now, we descend together. Let me guide you, not through control, but through memory. The memory of heaviness that feels safe, the memory of letting go, not as a task, but as a return. I start by imagining your feet. Yes, even now, there is still energy there, not tension, but aliveness, and we honor it, but we also release it. Imagine that a soft golden warmth begins to swirl around your toes. It's not hot, it's not even physical, it's something older, like liquid peace. It flows gently through your soles, around your heels, loosening every muscle with love. This warmth rises now, flowing into your ankles, your calves, your knees. It moves like a gentle tide, lifting and releasing, and with it, each part of you begins to blur into the bed, skin and the surface beneath you. You are not lying on the bed, you are part of it. Let that warmth continue upward into your thighs, your hips. These are the places where the body holds old stories, stress, fear, even sadness. But tonight, those stories are not needed. They can sleep too. Let them sleep. The warmth moves now to your stomach. Your breath deepens here. The rise and fall of your belly like waves on the shore of a forgotten island. A place untouched by noise, untouched by urgency. Just presence. It rises still through your chest, into your shoulders. You might not have noticed how tightly you were whirled here, but now feel it drop, feel it unhook, feel it unhook. Every knot begins to loosen, every edge begins to round. The weight is no longer yours. Down your arms, this warmth flows. Elbows, forearms, wrists, hands, even to the fingertips, each finger unwinding like petals, closing at dusk. So gentle, so complete. Your neck, your jaw, your face. Let your mouth part slightly, enough to release the grip of holding things in. Let your eyes fall back into their sockets, softly, safely. There's nothing to see now. The world has gone quiet, and in it's nothing to see now. Place, peace. Your forehead smooths, your scalp tingles with release. Even the tiny muscles behind your ears, the ones you never think about, are letting go. Every part of you is soft now. Every part of you is still. And with that stillness comes a new awareness that you are not your tension, that you are not your thoughts, that you are not even your body. You are what's beneath all of that. You are the one who watches. You are the silence that remains. You are the breath that stays after the story ends. So now, let it end. Let the story stop. Let the sentences fade. Let even my voice become part of the dream. And if it's still with you, let this final image carry you across. You are lying on golden sand, beneath a sky of endless stars. The waves speak a language older than time. And you, small and whole and precious, breathe in the rhythm of the universe. The sun has long since disappeared. The moon keeps quiet watch, and there is nothing more to do. nothing more to try. You are enough, you are safe, you are home. So sleep now, sleep like the earth sleeps, not in fear of tomorrow, but in fullness of this very breath. Sleep not as an escape, but as a return. Let this moment cradle you, and know, no matter how deep you go, you are still held, still loved, still here. Good night, my sleeping friend. I'll be here with you until the dream takes over, and even then, somewhere in the stillness between your breaths, I'll remain as a whisper of calm, a memory of peace, a friend in the quiet. Sleep well.